These days, there are so many choices in cruise lines, in cruise ships, in itineraries, and add to that some of the new travel requirements. Honestly, planning a cruise can get a little bit confusing. Not to worry, it is not that difficult. I am going to go through the things that you need to know as you are planning and booking your cruise. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. Now, normally I would say this video is probably for first-time cruisers, and a lot of this is going to be. However, recently I have noticed even some seasoned cruisers are really falling into some traps. Now, in this video, I'm going to share with you the things that you'll really want to do as you're planning your cruise, even as early as booking your cruise. But before I do, I did want to mention that if you like this video, if you find it helpful, informative, or enjoyable in any way, then please do give this video a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let's get started. Number one, overlooking unknown fees. Now, cruising is not an all-inclusive vacation, even though it really is a very good value and there is a lot that is included. So you really do want to know what is included, what is not, so that you can budget accordingly. Now, as an example, Wi-Fi is not included on most cruise lines, and that is something that you are going to want to look into and budget for. If you drink alcohol, an alcoholic beverage package is usually not included on a cruise. However, cruise lines do have different bundles that they didn't have available even 5 years ago. So it really is worth looking into all of the different potential extras so that you not only budget for this, but that you also get the best deal and value. Number two, mismatched expectations, especially when it comes to the cruise ship. Now, this is something that we're seeing more and more, and I do think in part because there's a lot of new cruise ships that are out these days, and cruise lines do an amazing job of promoting their newer cruise ships, a lot of the amenities that are on board. So it can be surprising if you book a cruise with a certain cruise line, and then you realize perhaps after you book it, that, oh gosh, it doesn't include all of those amenities, all of those onboard attractions, even all of those restaurants that you might have seen. It doesn't include it on your specific ship. So you really want to do your research. Make sure that you're choosing the ship as well as the itinerary that is right for you. So not only is the cruise line important, but the cruise ship as well. Now, I mentioned this not because older cruise ships are a problem. They are not. They could be wonderful, but you do have to adjust your expectations. So for instance, if you are booking a Royal Caribbean cruise, you wouldn't want to later on find out that you've booked on one of their older cruise ships that doesn't include, for instance, a splash pad for the kids if you're going with young children. And likewise, if you're booking on any other cruise line. Now, I do have a little bit of a tip. Do check when was your cruise ship last refurbished. At least that gives you an idea not only of what are the amenities on board and the onboard attractions, if you will, but how up to date will that cruise ship look? Number three, misunderstanding cruise line cancellation policies. Now, the good news is cruise lines actually do have some of the most flexible booking policies than across the rest of the travel industry, but still there is some fine print and there are some things that you need to know. So firstly, refundable versus non-refundable deposits. Now, this is something that's pretty new over the last few years, but sometimes cruise lines are going to have these types of promotions. Now, obviously, booking with a refundable deposit is going to give you more flexibility if you decide to cancel before the final payment. However, a non-refundable deposit will often come with a little bit of a promotional rate, offering a discount that might be worth the risk. Now, of course, you do have to evaluate the certainty of your travel plans, but that is something to be aware of before you book. Number four, not using a travel agent to book your cruise. Now, I know a lot of times people ask, isn't it going to be cheaper if I book my cruise directly with a cruise line? However, that is not the case. When you are booking with a cruise travel agent, they are actually getting paid through the cruise line. So it does not cost you more. And in fact, If you book your cruise with a cruise travel agent, the price is going to be the same as the cruise line or less because they may have additional promotions. Now, beyond the price, there are so many little details that a travel agent is able to help with, and that's why personally we always use a travel agent to book our cruises. Now, I do get a lot of questions about this, so by the way, this video is sponsored by MEI-Travel. They are our travel partner and who I book my own cruises with. And just to let you know some of the benefits of booking with MEI-Travel, first of all, they are a no-fee travel agency. So when you request a quote, when you have a travel agent that is assisting you with your booking, that service is complimentary for you. Now, one of the things that I like best about working with MEI-Travel is their rate monitoring service. Now, MEI-Travel uses a proprietary technology that will continuously track pricing. So if the rates go down before final payment, they're going to proactively apply any additional savings at no extra cost to you. Now, MEI-Travel also has access to exclusive deals, benefits, and discounts that are not available when booking direct with a cruise line. Now, if you're like me and sometimes you like to actually go on the website and play around and look for cruise deals, I love that because MEI-Travel's website is very easy to use. So you could look for deals, and even if you find something at midnight or at 2 a.m., you could book it. And then the next day, one of their travel advisors is going to contact you and they will finalize any details. Now, if you don't want to book online or you simply aren't sure exactly what you want, what you can do instead is fill in a form and somebody will give you a quote and get in touch with you. Now, you can do this by scrolling on the website and you'll see a little spot that you could fill in that quotation form. And as well, you'll find that at the top right corner of their website. Now, beyond booking your cruise, your MEI travel advisor can help you with flights and your travel insurance, as well as all of the other details. And it really just helps to take the stress of planning a cruise off your shoulders. And with over 100 travel advisors, you're not just dealing with booking on a website. You have personalized service and somebody who is going to help you with your needs. Oh, and by the way, just because people have asked me about this, MEI-Travel works with most cruise lines. So if you have a cruise line that you're thinking of, simply let them know in that quotation form and they can help you out. And by the way, for anybody who's interested in river cruising, they have an entire section of their website that you will want to check out. Now, I'll leave all of the information about MEI-Travel and a link to their website down below in the description of this video, as well as a pinned comment. Number 5, not having the right documentation. And this is especially important this year as some of the travel requirements have changed. So firstly, let's just talk about passports. This is not something new, but I think it's something that a lot of people aren't aware of, and it can definitely trip people up. So most of the time, many destinations, many countries, many cruise lines are going to require people who are traveling with a passport for their cruise to have at least 6 months remaining after the last date of travel till their expiry date. So if this is not you, make sure that you do check this on your passport and apply for a new passport way before the date of your cruise. Now, for anybody traveling to Europe this year, there are some new travel requirements. Now, if your cruise includes the UK, be aware that there is a new electronic travel authorization, or ETA, that is being implemented for visa-exempt travelers. Now, confirm the latest UK guidelines and apply for your ETA well before departure. Now, I do have a video all about the new travel requirements that I'll leave at the end of this video in case that can be helpful. But as well, we also do have, for people that are taking perhaps a Mediterranean cruise, something to think about, which is the ETIAS, or the ETIAS. Now, that is something that is supposed to come into effect very shortly. So if you are taking a cruise out of Italy or Barcelona or even Greece, this is something that you'll want to look into before your cruise as well. Now, a little tip is when it comes to any of your documentation, keep copies of your documentation, both digital as well as a physical copy. Now, this includes copies of visas, if you have them, of your passport, but as well your cruise boarding documents and your insurance. Number 6, not properly researching reviews. Now, I do still think that people should take reviews with a grain of salt, but it is a big mistake to book a cruise and then read the reviews after and maybe be a little bit worried or even a little bit disappointed. So these are some things to look for. Firstly, read reviews from a variety of sources: Cruise Critic, TripAdvisor, personal blogs, vlogs, Facebook. Those are all good places to look, but look for some patterns. Look for some pros and some cons that come up continuously. Look for reviews that are a little bit less biased. Look for things that are not necessarily perfect and not necessarily vague and awful. So look for those reviews with some specific details so that you know if those things are going to be things that you love or things that you really don't love. Also, a little bit of an extra tip: be cautious as to when was the review from. You want reviews that are relatively recent. So for instance, within the last 12 to 18 months. And finally, if there is a review of a new cruise ship, take those inaugural cruise or even those first few weeks after the cruise ship has come out, take those reviews with a little bit of a grain of salt. Now, it doesn't mean that those reviews are not valid, but there's a likelihood that 6 months down the line, any of those little kinks and snags are just not going to apply to you. Flight booking blunders. Now, something that you'll want to make sure that you do is that you arrive on time for your cruise. Now, how do you do that? You fly in at least 1 day before your cruise, if not 2 days before. Now, especially if you have a connecting flight, you really want to make sure that nothing keeps you from getting to that cruise ship on time. And truthfully, there can be flight delays, there can be weather, there could be unforeseen circumstances. You just never know. Now, if you're flying overseas, you may want to go 2 days before. And I'll share my example. From the city that I fly from, usually there is only one flight per day when we are going overseas. So for instance, to Europe. And I want to make sure that I arrive there on time. So I always fly in 2 days before and sometimes even 3. Number 8, not taking advantage of some of those special discounts. Now, I think a lot of people aren't aware there are some discounts that you could get with your cruise line or with your travel agent. Just give them this information. Those include past passenger discounts. So even if you've taken only one cruise with a cruise line, provide your past passenger number or even your phone number. Your travel agent can often look that up for you so that you could, take advantage of any of those discounts or maybe cabin upgrades that are available. As well, military discounts. Many cruise lines have military discounts and resident discounts as well. Now, beyond that, sometimes there are specific promotions. Are you a teacher? Do you work in the medical field? Let your travel agent or cruise line know any of that information so that you could take advantage of any of those additional benefits and promotions. Now, I have 2 more and then I do have a bonus. Number 9, avoid any bad cabins. And this is something that's going to happen when you book. Don't think that if you're booking a certain category, so for instance, a balcony cabin, that they are all made equal. Now, don't get me wrong, any cabin is still a good cabin as long as you are cruising. But the reality is, if you are sensitive to motion, for instance, you want to avoid being in the front of the ship. If you're somebody that's a little bit claustrophobic, even if the price is good, you probably do want to avoid a windowless or an inside cabin. And even something as simple as an obstructed cabin, you want to take a look to see what does that mean and take a look at that specific cabin. Oftentimes you can find reviews, and if that obstruction is going to be something that you're not going to be happy with during your cruise, you are going to want to avoid it. Now, if you would like to see a video all about how to choose the best cruise cabin for you, please do let me know down in the comments below. Not downloading or refreshing your cruise line app. Now, when it comes to your cruise line app, oftentimes you could do things like book your excursions, you could do your online check-in right on your cruise line app. And once you're on the cruise ship, there are many different things that you could see on your cruise line app, so you're going to want to have it. But don't make my mistake, because sometimes what happens is the cruise lines, if you already have that app on your phone, you might be under the impression that you are all set, especially if you did your online check-in like me on your computer. No, not so. You want to check that you actually have activated your cruise line app, because sometimes cruise lines do update them or refresh them, and you're going to need to download a new one. And not doing so, trust me, can have a little delay when you are boarding your cruise. Now, I'm going to leave all of the information for MEI-Travel's website linked down below in the description of this video, as well as in a pinned comment, in case you do need a quote or just want to check them out. And I would love to hear from you. Please let me know, what are some of your cruise planning mistakes that you have made, or what are some of the cruise planning tips that you can add down in the comments below. Now, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give it a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Bye for now and happy cruising.